Hi guys, and welcome back to Tech with Theo, and today I've got a video for you on whether a gimbal is worth it in 2022. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and if you're coming back to my channel, thank you very much. As technology progresses, camera technology has come a long way, especially in smartphones. So as companies like Apple release new modes such as action mode to increase and make better stabilisation, is a gimbal really worth it? Well, today I'm going to talk to you a bit about that, hopefully give you some demonstrations and just take a look at this gimbal. So the gimbal I've got here, I've had for a bit of time now, so it's not new to me. I believe it was purchased on Amazon, so it's just one of these generic ones. It has lots of different features, as you can see here. It's very small. It automatically rotates your phone from portrait to landscape, which is really cool, and I'll show you that in a minute. And I believe there is an app or something you can get to sync it to control the smartphone camera. Personally, I haven't needed that, but definitely so far I have loved using this gimbal, and this brand has been very good. So if I can find it on Amazon, I will link it in the description. So this is the gimbal, and it folds down, and with this little rotating nut here, if I pull that out, it extends into how a gimbal normally looks. So when it's set up, as you can see on the box, it goes from this folded down version into this, and it can be portrait or landscape. So here I have unfolded it, and then these all click together and unclick. So even when I first got it, I will admit it is really weird because it just is all wibbly wobbly stuff. But when you turn it on, obviously it automatically centers. There's no phone on there, so it's not going to understand, but you can see that even as I move with it now, it's sort of following my hand gestures, and it's not just randomly moving, which is already stabilizing my hand with no phone on there. I've just clipped in an old phone. It's not turned on at the moment, and as you can see, it's all wibbly, it's all moving around, and it can seem really confusing. So when I first got it, I definitely thought this doesn't look like it's stabilizing it. As soon as you turn it on though, it immediately brings the smartphone into the correct position for filming, and then you can also double tap the power button on my model to go from landscape to portrait, which if I can get the right angle, because it's very hard to film this, yeah, as you can see, it goes from landscape to portrait with the double tap of a button, and that is so useful, especially if you film YouTube shorts or if you take photos of people. Say you're a photographer and you're taking a group shot where you need a landscape photo, or you're taking an individual shot of just one person and you need a portrait photo. Being able to easily switch is extremely useful, and I love that feature. Now, whether or not a gimbal is worth it for you really depends. If you are, say, just starting at YouTube and you've got, say, an old iPhone like this first generation iPhone SE, then maybe it is, because the stabilization may not be great on that phone. If maybe you've got a 2019, 2022, that sort of region of budget smartphone, then yes, I still think it's worth it, because the camera quality probably won't be amazing. The same applies for anyone using an older flagship phone such as this Galaxy Note 8, where I still think you can get better stabilization by using a gimbal. So I would still recommend it if you have an older flagship phone, maybe a budget phone, or just an older phone in general. As whatever you're doing develops, say you're a YouTuber or you're a photographer, you may find yourself moving towards better camera gear, such as this DSLR camera from Canon, where you may find that either a gimbal is not necessary, or it might be a welcome addition if you buy a cheaper like camcorder or a cheaper camera. But what I will say is, with newer smartphones such as action mode on the newer iPhone 14 models, they're very good at minimalizing the sort of shaky, jagged video quality as you're running or you're walking down the street. So to hand, I've got this Galaxy Note 10 Plus 5G, which is an older flagship model, and these are definitely still good with stabilization, but adding a gimbal just takes it to the next level. So even if you have a really modern smartphone, and in my opinion, the Galaxy Note 10 Plus 5G is still a fairly modern smartphone, so even if you have a really good modern smartphone that you think is fairly good with stabilization, adding it to the gimbal just takes it to a whole new level. And I'll insert some clips shortly of me jogging or walking fast with a gimbal and without a gimbal. So to sum that up, even if you've got a fairly good modern flagship phone, adding a gimbal really will just take the filming quality to the next level, and it's something that isn't always too expensive, and it's definitely a great piece of kit to add to your inventory. I know lots of great YouTubers who still film with their phones, but using a gimbal just takes their stabilization and their video production quality to the next level. I'm currently filming on my Samsung Galaxy M32, which is a mid-range smartphone, which is fairly new without the gimbal. And this is the stabilisation test of me walking fairly fast down my garden, holding the phone one-handed, as you would be with a gimbal. And as you can see, I think from my visualizer screen, it's very shaky. When I put it in the gimbal, I'm hoping that should stop the shaking while I'm still only using one hand. My assistant has come outside and joined us on this awfully rainy day to help film. Still using the exact same phone and still doing a brisk walk down the garden with one hand, this time using the gimbal, and my visualizer shows it to me much smoother and there's a lot less effort for me. Before I was struggling to talk while I walked and filmed with one hand. With this gimbal, it's much easier. My assistant producer and editor has joined me out here today in the windy, rainy weather of Britain to just help supervise me while I film. Now, in my opinion, those tests were fairly conclusive. The gimbal made such a world of difference and was 110% useful. And also, when I'm looking on Amazon at prices of gimbals, actually the prices do range. Obviously, as with any product, there's different levels of quality, whether you want a basic gimbal, whether you want perhaps a more advanced gimbal. Let me just adjust the tripod for you to see. But as I scroll through, there's the bigger brands like DJI Osmo for £145, but there are also some that are about £36, and there are some that are fairly inexpensive, £39 as you can see. And while the prices vary, if you get one of these that is fairly inexpensive like this one here, it still is definitely going to be an improvement for your YouTube channel or your vlogging channel or whatever you're filming or taking photos of. And there are so many useful things that come with it that you may overlook when you're purchasing a gimbal. For example, one accessory I want to look at is the tripod that comes with this. It simply has 3 fold-outable legs. You can place it down on a stable surface. The gimbal itself has a sort of screw gate on the base that you tighten into it. There you are, you can see that there. I simply attach the gimbal to its base, screw it on tightly, then put a phone in the top of the gimbal, and it will stabilize it and you can film some content. For example, sticking with this industry, if I wanted to film a video on my computer, I simply attach the phone to the gimbal on its tripod and then you can get a nice overhead shot, or, which I have done in my MacBook video review, which you can check out on my channel, you can do a nice pan over a product. So simply hold the gimbal in one hand. I tend to angle the product, so if I angle my MacBook a bit more like that, then I tend to get the camera near as close as I can to it and bring the gimbal along the top just to go over that Apple logo, and I think it definitely looks really neat and definitely helps the smoothness of the introduction. Check out some of my videos for the Mac. I also did a video on the iPad 9th generation where I used that technique for the introduction. Okay, so overall from my tests, I think they're fairly conclusive and speak for themselves. A gimbal is still worth it in 2022 if you're using perhaps not the top spec smartphone or the latest model. If you have the latest model, I still think if you use a really smooth smartphone and a gimbal for even better content, it will work together to give you the best content, as many YouTubers do, and I have seen the content. Even with the top spec phone, a gimbal just helps enhance it and take it to that next level. So in my opinion, it is worth it. Even if you invest in a fairly budget option, it will get your channel started or get your photography business started or whatever you use it for, and it will really help just create better content, better photos, better videos, because it would just stabilize your phone and it's so much easier, especially when you're filming one-handed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want more tech content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.